it's Allison from Quilt & Code, and I'm going to be using the Color Burst quilt from Sassafras Lane Designs to show you how to use freezer paper when doing your foundation paper piecing. If you like these videos, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. And let's get started. When I'm cutting my freezer paper off the roll, it comes in a 20-inch section. And so I simply cut off about 10 inches and then I can cut that in half. And I do not like to have it the same exact size of my paper in order to run it through my printer. And so now I have a piece that's slightly smaller than the piece of paper that I'm going to run it through on in the machine on. And then all I do is take just a little tip right here of the freezer paper and I just secure it to my paper so that when I put it into the machine, it will grab the freezer paper as well. Now that I have printed all my paper piecing pieces, I am going to cut out the individual blocks. And so I like to leave a bit where I'm going to be stitching, and so I'm not cutting directly to the block line. I like to leave at least a 1/4 inch, if not a whole inch. And then I'm simply going to put these guys to the side and show you how it's done. The first step is to find your number 1 on your paper piecing piece. Okay, so I have 1 right here, and then I'm using my light box because I can see through the light box a little bit better to see if I am on this piece of fabric. Now, the very first fabric is the only fabric that you're going to put wrong side to your piece, that your pattern. Okay, so I have my fabric A, and so then I'm going to bring it over here to my iron. And because I am using the freezer paper, it's just gonna nicely meld right on there. Okay, now I'm only doing that little piece. Okay, so now I am going to fold over where the piece is that I need to go to. And then I am pretty, nonchalant about it. And I just simply cut there, and that allows me not only to see with the light board, but it also allows me to see where my 1/4 inch is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to cut off my piece of fabric, and then I'm going to bring this fabric in just like this, and I can see if I line that up with my 1/4 inch right there. And I'm just rough cutting. I know that we have lots of add-a quarters and that type of thing out here, but I am just rough cutting it. And then I can see through the light box that this piece is going to definitely cover fabric 2. So I'm going to go over here to the sewing machine and cut and stitch that down. To prepare for stitching on my paper piecing, I have turned my stitch length way low. That's twofold. One, it will help me get the freezer paper off of the project when I'm done. And then 2, the smaller stitches, especially with these small little lines, will help me to make sure I don't go past those lines when I'm doing my stitching. So the first thing I want to do is I usually tack in place a few stitches, and then I go forward and I'm going to go 1 more and tack. And then when I bring this out, you can see I was sewing directly on that line. So the first thing I like to do once I've stitched it down is I know that I'm getting ready to go to fabric 3. So I go ahead and fold this over just like this, just so that I've got a little crease going where I want that. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to iron this one down. And then where my fold was, I'm going to fold that over. And like I showed you earlier, all I'm going to do is rough cut that 1/4 inch so that I kind of know where I'm going with my next piece. And so I know I'm going this way, and it's going to stay the orange. Oh, I don't need that much fabric, so I can cut that down. And then I'm going to stick that right on like that, so it's lining up about with the fabric. And I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine and stitch my next piece. And that finishes one block. So I have rough cut around the edge of the block, leaving plenty of space around the block. And then we're going to be putting all the blocks together. And so you simply just follow these outside lines when you're putting those blocks together. You are now ready for foundation paper piecing. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to use freezer paper in your foundation paper piecing methods. This kit is available on our website, so if you're interested, go to www.quiltandcode.com. And if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.